Hi folks, Nathan here again for a update from here on the front line. We're going to talk about a couple of different perspectives on the legislature. We're going to talk about 4 words: detect, analyze, monitor, and intervene, which is what we do here at Family Protection Ministries to engage in legislation that impacts the family. And then I'm going to walk you through sort of the next few steps that are going to be happening in the legislature and how we can interact with the legislature to have an impact. And so engage with me on this. It might be interesting, more interesting for some people than others, but I guarantee you'll have a better understanding in just a few minutes of how the system works and how you can make a difference. Welcome to the Frontline with FPM, where we talk about California politics, homeschool freedom, parental rights, and the family. I'm your host, Nathan Pierce, and thanks for joining us today. Let's jump right in and see what's going on here on the Frontline. All right, so 4 words: detect, analyze, monitor, intervene. I'm going to walk you through these 4 words real quickly. Detect. This is something that we do here. It takes us a process every morning when we go through the legislation that's been either introduced or amended since in the last 24 hours. So we use a series of search strings. We use a couple of different search services that we pay for to get the latest information. One service uses sort of an old school set of search strings, a combination of keywords and phrases, and certain code sections that we keep an eye on. The other service uses AI to give us the best technology version of the analysis of what's happened in the last 24 hours and how we might be interested in certain aspects on it based on our history. So then after we've detected things that seem to be problematic for us, whether it's something that deals with schools, something that deals with family or homes, these types of things, we have to go through and we have to analyze these bills to understand, do they really impact us, or was this term or bill brought up to us in error? So we have to do quite a number of analyses. This time of year, we have to do a lot more of those than in the fall or summer, because there's a lot of bills being introduced. I'll give you a little bit more rundown of that in a minute, but we do have to do an analysis. We have to read bills. We have to understand the context. We have to sometimes do further research to understand what code sections these bills are going into and understand the context of where those code sections are and what the implications of their location is for how it would impact the family. Next, we monitor legislation. We monitor bills as they go through the process to do a couple of things, to figure out when is the proper time to intervene, and sometimes a bill will just not go anywhere. If it's not going anywhere, then we can prioritize other things ahead of it. But if it starts to move and it's something that's of great concern to us, then we'll jump in on it early on, because the earlier that you can get engaged with a bill, the higher the chance that we can actually have an impact on it. So we monitor them to see what's going on with them. Sometimes we intervene early on, but then we still continue to monitor it, even if we've gotten an amendment to the bill that we like and we are satisfied with our changes to the bill. We'll still monitor that bill all the way through the end of the process to make sure our wording stays clear and stays in the bill all the way through the end. And that's something that we have to watch very carefully, because sometimes wording that we put in there can get tweaked later, or can be changed later because of something else that gets put in the bill that changes the meaning of our language. So we have to watch these things very carefully and monitor those things to the very end, all the way to the governor's desk. Lastly, there's the intervention part, and I've mentioned this kind of all along the way, but when we do find bills that are going to impact the family, then we do intervene very dramatically sometimes. Sometimes it's more subtly. Sometimes it's behind the scenes, and you would never hear about it until the end. But we do intervene in a number of bills every year. In fact, we had amendments. I think we put through about 7 amendments last year that got adopted. So there's a lot of activity that goes on, a lot of intervention. Sometimes it's asking legislators to pause on a bill. Sometimes it's asking legislators to change wording slightly. Sometimes it's asking them to take whole sections out. Sometimes we have to rewrite their bill for them in such a way that it does solve their problem, but doesn't negatively impact us. So that's intervening. So right now I want to just walk through sort of some of the things that are going on right now in the legislature and kind of give you a roadmap of what's out ahead. Starting with introducing bills. Right now, we are at about 1,000 bills for the year that pretty much were introduced in the last couple of weeks. We had several hundred bills introduced today, and there are expected to be another 1,500 to 2,000 bills introduced tomorrow. And that means there will be a lot more detecting and a lot more analyzing over the next few days as we go through all those bills. Sometimes it takes a few days or even a week for even the legislature, their staff, to get all those bills uploaded and processed into a system where we can actually do our research on them. So we have to go through those and find what we need to find. And so that's something that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of reading and rereading. It takes a lot of just making sure that we understand things clearly, and we have to go back through the system multiple times because sometimes certain bills get left behind and they have to update those in the system. So we'll be doing that over the next week or so. The deadline for introducing bills, which explains why there's going to be so many bills introduced tomorrow, is at the end of tomorrow. They have to introduce bills by the end of tomorrow in order to get those bills introduced before the deadline for introducing bills, which is tomorrow. There is a way possible for them to introduce bills after tomorrow, but they have to get a special rule waiver, and they have to get permission from the chair of the Rules Committee. So there is a way, but it's not the normal way for introducing bills. So most bills get introduced before that deadline hits, which is the end of business tomorrow. So we'll see a lot of bills today, tomorrow, and then we'll be going through those over the coming days and having to do a lot of analyses on those. We'll have, right now, we have a couple of people helping me to do the analyses on these bills, but they're part-time. And so I would just ask that you would just remember us in your prayers as we go through all these bills that are hitting sort of all at once. And we'll have a lot of work in the days ahead. Next is going to be our intervention, where we start working on trying to find out more from legislators and see what we can do to tweak wording here and there to make the bills less impactful on the family, see if we can solve some problems there, and if that means we have to get just little wording tweaked, that's nice. If it means that we have to do a bunch of work to change the way the bill is written, that means a lot more effort on our part. And then there might be these situations where people aren't very friendly towards us about changing the bills, and we have to ask for your help in making phone calls. And those phone calls really do make a difference, particularly when a bill gets towards a hearing. A hearing is sort of the next step that I want to explain, is that's where votes start to happen, when bills get to hearings. And those will start happening over the next couple of months here. You'll start seeing bills getting heard in committee next month. And these bills are being heard and also being voted on. Right now, we already are seeing bills assigned to a committee hearing date And when they get assigned to a committee hearing date, that means that somebody in that committee, a staff member that works for the committee, is assigned to do research on that bill, to figure out what the issues are, who's for it and who's against it, what might be some potential changes to the bill that might make the bill work better, and then that committee might propose those amendments or changes to the bill to the author when the author presents the bill in committee. And then the committee will debate that bill, might hear from support and opposition, and then that committee will then vote on that bill, whether to pass it or to fail it, in which case that bill would die there. So when we look at a bill and see that it's problematic and we want to propose some changes to the bill, we will often talk to the author's office, and then we'll also talk to the committee staff, because if the committee staff is already proposing amendments, then we want to be able to work with them so that we know that our amendments are going to be working with their amendments and not going to cancel each other out or something when they get to committee. So we want to work, in a best case scenario, we'll be working with the author's office, with the committee staff, so that we can craft amendments together in such a way that everybody's happy and everybody wins in the end. That doesn't always happen, but that's the ideal situation, and it's great when it can work out that way. We do have some bills right now that we are looking at potential proposed amendments for. So I would appreciate your prayers for that the relationships there would all work out as we work with legislators and their staff as well as committee staff. So that's what's going on here in Sacramento. We'll be putting in some extra hours over the next week to review all the bills that are being introduced right now, and we'd appreciate your prayers for that, for health as well as we burn the midnight oil in the coming days. So thanks so much, and we'll be going at it, and I ask that you would just keep praying for us, and we'll just do the best we can, and we'll talk to you again soon. Oh, one last thing. Don't forget that right now is a great opportunity to sign up for the upcoming CHIA convention in May. And right now there's an early bird special price if you register by Tuesday, the 20th of February. So check it out on CHIA's website, cheaofca.org, chiaofca.org, or click the link below and it'll take you right to it. Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Frontline with FPM. For more information about the topics we discuss here, check out Family Protection Ministries at fpmca.org and subscribe to our channel.